How many of us have really, really, really bad wants? Because when you have those, you can create your cookbook. Cookbook's easy. Cookbook is saying, hey, this is what I need to do from an action standpoint. This is what I need to do from a behavioral standpoint. This is what I need to do from a sales standpoint. The nice thing about cookbooking is you break down your sales cycle. And by the way, if you haven't done this, I'm going to tell you you're nuts if you don't do it. You should have your entire selling process broken down to sequential steps. What are the must-haves, should-haves, and what are the next steps? With that, you should know your ratios from one to the other to the other. Your prospecting, dials, contacts, appointment set, appointment kept, those are all easy stuff. You got to track all that. And why do we track it? What do we train to? We train to improve what? Ratios. You got to track your stuff to understand your ratios. The worst case is, I got baseline. But do you realize that if you're closing 30% of your deals, in 30 days you're at 33, 34%, then all of a sudden you're at 40, 45%? That's good stuff. Those are mini wins. That's winning. Versus saying, I'm going to close 75% in a year and a half from now. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Mini wins, mini wins, mini wins. You need tipping points. So when we take a look at this stuff, when we look at goals, how come some of us, we have goals, then we put a plan together, then we know our action steps, yet we don't do them? There's always a problem. There's always that brick wall. There's always that thing holding us back from doing what we need to do. And it's always the same dumb thing, bravery, which means that we got to look at the attitude piece of the success triangle. Within the attitude, we have crucial elements of success. Now, crucial elements of success are the absolute fundamentals that I believe that are crucial for us to get to the next level. That's desire, commitment, your self-esteem, and your ability to take responsibility. Now, desire and commitment have two parts. Desire and commitment to be successful, you need it. But I think more importantly, for many of you in the room, it's desire and commitment to change. To change you, to change the way you think, to change how you go to market, to change your internals and what your fears are, to change. Many of us have what's called limited commitment. Limited commitment means I will do whatever it takes only if I don't have to do A, B, and C. It's not the way it works. Either you're in or you're out. Full commitment. Limited commitment is by far the number one biggest devil in home offices. It's the number one biggest devil in most of your firms and offices too. And if you understand what limited commitment is, you can hear it in people all the time. Do you realize when people use goals that start with I want, that's the beginning of a limited commitment? Goals do not start with I want. It's I will. I want is nothing more than anticipation. I want is nothing more than I hope. What the hell does that mean? So when we look at this stuff, responsibility, for most of us, and you heard excuse making from everybody else, so I don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but most responsibility is taking ownership. We don't take ownership. What happens is we have negative behavioral patterns that occur more times than not, which is non-productive behavior. And if it happens over and over and over again, we can't handle it internally for self-esteem. It erodes us. So what we do is we blame other stuff so we can handle it. We blame companies, we blame the economy, we blame pricing. So if you're an excuse maker, maybe you need to write down on the sheet that you have in front of you how to stop eliminating your excuse making. You can't learn if you make excuses. Then of course you have your bravery issues, and bravery issues, we know that stuff. That's just the courage and the things that we need to do, and we all know that fear of rejection and need for approval erodes us. I'm going to talk about emotional involvement in a little bit, because I think that's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, barrier that we have. How many of you are brand new in Sandler? I mean, first 6, 7 months, Sandler. Handful of you? Now, I'm hoping the people past 6 or 7 months aren't having this happen. I did. I had it happen for years. But how many of you are sitting in front of someone and when you're talking to them, you're setting an upfront contract? Hey, thanks for having me over. How much time do you have? And what are you hoping to accomplish? And they start to speak, and you're going in your head saying, what am I supposed to say next? Where the hell do I go from now? Or worse yet, you start going down the pain funnel and you don't know what you're supposed to do with what you just heard. Or worse is we have a tough time reversing. The reason we have a tough time reversing is not because of the techniques, it's because we don't listen. To be really good at reversing, you have to be exceptionally good at listening. To be exceptionally good at listening, you got to shut off your head. It's emotional involvement. Yet, when we take a look at all the stuff that we have, granted, we have to have a healthy self-esteem. That's not, yeah, right? Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice if that was the way it always was? Isn't it sometimes the opposite? Right? We're a lion and think we're just little sheep. You know, Sandler would always tell us that we have two parts of us, inside, outside, identity versus your roles. And we've been imprinted, unfortunately we've been imprinted hardcore, that what we do on the outside of us dictates how we should feel about the inside of us, which is wrong. We even stroke our kids on how well they do. You get paid based on how well you do. But you also connect that to your self-worth. The reality is that how you perceive yourself, how you feel about yourself dictates how you're going to perform. And we all know that when we look at IR, there's three different types of individuals in IR. We have the non-winners. Now, we used to call them losers in the late 60s and 70s, but completely non-acceptable anymore, right? So I think there were psychological losers. That became non-winners, right? It's amazing. You can't even use a red pen anymore for kids for their papers. You know, okay, listen, they're going to feel bad about themselves. They should. They got it wrong. Now, unbelievable, right? So at-leasters, right, are psychological people between 4 and 6, and then you got your winners. Now, we know what this looks like, and how many of us in the room, and listen, I taught this for 8 years until one day it finally, bam, it hit me in the head what it meant. When we look at leasters and parking lot people is what I call them, that's what they are. They basically look at life and say, man, that's a hell of a journey. I'm going to hang out here for a while. And then everyone else starts to climb. If they start to climb, they get resentment because they see people climbing. Yes, they're experiencing pain, but they're also living life. So in essence, non-winners are okay being not okay. Yet we all know that 60% of the population walking in, 60% of us in this room, are probably at-leasters. And yes, there's at-leasters who make 80,000, there's at-leasters who make 100,000, there's at-leasters who make 150, 300, 500, 700, 800. It's a mindset.